I should have never agreed to move in with Marcus. That's where it all started. He wasn't a bad guy, just too curious for his own good. When his uncle died and left him that old property in Vermont, a crumbling farmhouse tucked into the hills, Marcus saw it as a blessing. "It's perfect," he'd said. "We can finally get off the grid, focus on writing." He always talked about writing that novel. I didn't have much going on at the time, just got laid off, wasn't ready to go crawling back to my parents. So I said yes, figured it would be quiet, peaceful, a reset. It was neither. The place was older than I expected. Peeling white paint, weather-warped windows, a wraparound porch that creaked if you breathed too hard. But the weirdest part was how untouched it felt, like someone had just stepped out minutes before we arrived. Inside, everything was strangely clean. No dust, no cobwebs. A coffee mug sat by the sink. Wood was stacked neatly by the hearth. A single chair was pulled up to the front window, facing outward like someone had been watching the driveway. Watching for what or who? Marcus didn't seem to notice. He was too excited, said it was full of character. I didn't like the way the shadows pooled in the corners, or the fact that it was too quiet. Not countryside quiet, dead quiet. The trees didn't move, the air didn't hum. It was as if the house existed in some kind of vacuum. That first night, we sat on the porch with a couple beers. I kept looking out at the tree line, expecting to see something move, but nothing did. Marcus nudged me. "This place looks haunted," he said, smirking. I didn't laugh. Something about the way the house sat there on the land, the way it loomed slightly off kilter, gave me the same feeling I used to get when I was a kid, walking past mannequins and store windows, convinced one of them would blink. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing sounds, a soft creak above us, like slow footsteps moving across the attic. At first, I told myself it was the house settling. That's what people say, right? Old wood shifts. But then it happened again and again. Always the same time, 3:13 a.m. I remember that exact number because I checked the clock every time it happened. It wasn't random. It was too rhythmic, too patient. The third night, I told Marcus. He shrugged it off. Probably squirrels, he said. Or raccoons. You know these old country places. But he didn't even check. Just kept working on his laptop, barely looking up. It bothered me how casual he was about it, so that night I decided I'd go check the attic myself. The ladder was one of those pull-down deals in the hallway ceiling. Took a bit of tugging to get it loose. When it finally came down, the steps groaned like something waking up. I climbed slowly, flashlight in hand. The attic smelled like coal dust and dry wood. The beam of light caught boxes. An old mirror draped in cloth, cracked wooden crates. Nothing moved, no animals. No nests. But on the floor, I saw something that made my throat tighten. There were scratches, dozens of them, deep gouges in the wood, all circling the trapdoor entrance, like something or someone had been clawing to get out. They weren't old either. The wood was still raw where it had splintered. I didn't sleep that night. And when I tried to talk to Marcus about it in the morning, he barely listened, just nodded absently and said something about needing more coffee. His eyes were red. He looked exhausted. That was the first day I noticed something was different about him. He started pacing a lot, didn't leave the house, barely ate, spent hours standing by the living room window, staring out at the woods. He wouldn't tell me what he was looking at. When I asked, he just muttered something like, "It's too quiet here. Can't you feel it?" Yes, I could, but I didn't want to say it out loud. I started having dreams, the same one, over and over. I'd hear the attic door creak open on its own, and something long and pale, would slither down the steps, limbs moving wrong, head tilted like it didn't understand gravity. I always woke up just before it reached me, sweating, shaking, and always at 3:13 a.m. Then one night, I actually woke up at 3:13 a.m. to find Marcus standing in the hallway, right under the attic ladder. He was staring up into the darkness, not moving, just watching. I asked what he was doing, but he didn't answer, just whispered something I couldn't quite catch. I got closer and realized he was repeating it again and again. "Don't let it in. Don't let it in." After that, things unraveled fast. He stopped sleeping, started drawing symbols on scraps of paper, circles with slashes through them, triangles with dots, said they were protective. He taped them to windows, mirrors, even inside the microwave. When I tried to take one down, he screamed at me, said I didn't understand, that the house was hungry. I told him I was leaving, that I'd come back with help if he needed it. but he refused to go, said leaving would make it worse. So I got in the car and drove to the nearest town. It was only about 30 minutes, but the entire time I felt like something was watching me from the back seat. When I came back, the front door was open. Marcus was gone. His shoes were still on the porch. Inside, all the lights were on. Every mirror was covered in a white sheet. The attic door hung open, the ladder still extended. I stood there for a long time, just staring up, listening, and then I heard it. Not footsteps this time. Breathing. Soft, wet, deliberate. Like something trying to imitate a human. I should have run, but instead I stayed, sat on the couch, waited, hoping he'd come down. He never did. The next morning, everything felt wrong. The air was heavier. My head felt foggy. I walked into the hallway and stopped dead. A message had been scratched into the wall overnight. Not drawn, scratched. Letters carved deep into the wood. It said, "It likes him better." I stared at it for what felt like an hour. My hands were covered in splinters. I didn't remember touching the wall, didn't remember anything after sitting on the couch. I packed my bags and tried to leave again. Threw everything into the car and turned the key. Nothing, not even a click. I walked 2 miles before I could get enough signal to call someone. A park ranger came. We drove back up together. When we got there, the house was locked, windows dark, everything still. He looked at me like I was crazy when I said the door had been wide open earlier. When we got inside, it was empty. I mean, completely empty. No furniture, no sheets, no symbols, no scratches. Just bare wood floors and an attic entrance sealed shut with nails. I told him about Marcus. The ranger frowned and said, "This place hasn't had a resident in over 20 years. I laughed, thinking it was a joke. He wasn't joking. The house had belonged to a man named Henry Wiles. Went missing in 1994. No next of kin, no Marcus listed on any record, no sale, no inheritance. It was as if Marcus had never existed. Back at home, I tore through my phone. No photos of him, no texts, blank spaces where our messages used to be, voicemails that played static. I searched my emails. Nothing. No evidence he'd ever invited me. No flight confirmations, no directions. I thought I was losing my mind. Then, a week later, I got a package. No return address. Inside was a small wooden figure, carved by hand, about 4 inches tall. It looked just like Marcus. Same posture, same clothes, same stupid half smile. I threw it away. That night, I heard something above my ceiling. I live on the top floor. There's no attic, just drywall and insulation. But still, at exactly 3:13 a.m., the sound started. Slow, dragging footsteps, then tapping, like fingers testing something, then laughter, soft and breathy, childlike. I don't sleep anymore. I keep the lights on. I don't answer the door, and I never look up, because last night I made the mistake of looking up at the ceiling vent, and I saw 2 fingers push through. Long, thin, not human. They were testing the air, testing the world. I think it followed me back, and I think it's learning how to smile.